Good morning, Pastoral Counseling Class of New Hope, CP442. I am doing this video to talk to you a little bit about your final project. So your final project is a part 1 and a part 2. Part 1 is due by midnight on April the 21st, and a completed draft submitted of part 2 by May the 1st, midnight. All right, so part 1, we'll just take one of these pieces at a time. Part 1, and I'm just looking at your weekly unit guides. I'm reading right from the information I gave you from the beginning. So your weekly unit guide says that part 1, the first part of this project will include a 3 to 5 page case conceptualization. Identifying, and the case conceptualization house these pieces: client demographics, client's reason for seeking services, the biopsychosocial assessment, informed consent and treatment plan. Just those pieces. Learners will use the case conceptualization and treatment plan sample provided in the updates and handouts section. So I printed the sample treatment plan, which is in your info, and the case conceptualization. You can actually go in your book, Strategic Pastoral Counseling book, which is a book for this course, and Benner on starts at page 105 in your book. He does a 5-session case illustration. Same type of thing that you're doing here. The only difference is I'd like for you to condense it just a little bit. You will have verbatim translations, and I'll give you a tip on how to transcribe things verbatim, which will cut time off of your trying to sit there and type everything out. So I'll talk to you about that a little bit later. All right, so let's start at the first part of this. The case conceptualization is going to be drawn up from your treatment plan sample. All the information that you're going to use for this whole assignment is going to be housed in this treatment plan. Now, most pastoral counselors don't do treatment plans, and that's just not a part of the training that they get, I believe. Treatment plan has helped me because it tells me who I'm seeing, why are they coming, what their family situation looks like. It cuts through all of the drama of life and gets down to the nuts and bolts. You've been married for 11 years. You have 3 kids. Right now, I'm dealing with my kid burning out of school and using marijuana. It's affecting the whole family, right? Just the nuts and bolts of what's going on. The treatment plan also tells me if this person is coming in as an individual. Are they coming in as a couple? Is the whole family coming to see me? Or am I just seeing the child, right? It tells me that in the treatment plan. It tells me current risk factors, suicide, or they're a danger to themselves or others. So if you look at this treatment plan, it'll walk you through everything that you're going to need for this case conceptualization. So let's just turn our focus to the treatment plan. And this is a sample treatment plan, which meant I went through and I filled out much of it for you as a sample as to how to do this project. Now, client name, counselor name, age, male, female, supervisor. That's only if you're working in an organization or at a church, and maybe you have a senior pastor that's overseeing some of the cases that people that you're talking to. All of that stuff is in here. The date of the first session. This is helpful because if people graduate therapy and they go away for 3 to 6 months, but then they recycle back to you, you can pull out this treatment plan and say, oh, I saw you 2 years ago. And so what's happening today, right? So the date that you made the plan. Now, this plan is not necessarily an isolated plan that you make of yourself. This is a plan that you're creating while you're talking to the client, while they're giving you information. You could pull out this paper and just begin to jot things down as they're talking to you. Family sessions frequency. This is saying, well, at the end of this, do you want to see them weekly, bi-weekly, every 3 weeks, once a month check-ins? This is for you to know how often you need to be checking in with this particular person. We talked about current risk factors, suicidality, substance dependency, self-mutilation? Are they contracted for no harm? This says that they came in and they told you that they were suicidal, they've been having thoughts of hurting themselves, and you've sat with them and had a conversation about how to keep themselves safe, and maybe gotten family members, support systems, phone numbers of best friends, or maybe primary care doctor that they've been in contact with, and you've sat down with them and said, okay, so since you're coming to me with this matter, let's just make a safety plan. Let's sit down and figure out how can we keep you safe. So you will call me on Tuesday. You will call your doctor on Wednesday. If you're having these thoughts and you can't get out of these thoughts, you need to call 911. You can sit down and write that down on a piece of paper. We talk about it. We make it a part of our conversation. But a plan would be to sit down and write those things out and give a copy of it to the client, and you keep a copy just in case something happens and someone comes back and say, well, the last person they talked to was Pastor Charles. Well, Pastor Charles, what did you do to protect this person? And now you can pull out something and go, oh, we talked about this, and was their agreement with me that they were going to do these things. Now we see that they didn't hold to their agreement, which kind of puts you off the hook here. And so current medications. This is not a necessity for the pastoral counselor. This is more information based. So if you know if they're on psychotropic medications or if they're self-medicating, then you probably want to get some referrals in place so that you can send them to some clinically based therapy, clinically based psychiatry. Who's prescribing the medication? Are they self-prescribing? All of these things add a play into what you're providing as a counselor, and it protects you so you have more information as to what you're dealing with. You may not know anything about any of these medications, but to know that they're on some psychotropic medications and they're telling you, I have not been on my medications as prescribed, then you can make a good judgment there and go, okay, so first I think you need to call your doctor. I think you need to go check yourself into the hospital. I think you need to get some clinical eyes on you because my degree is not clinical. That will help you tremendously to get people in the right direction as you're supporting them. So if you're coming along as a spiritual support, you want to offer that spiritual support, but then there's some practical things you need to tell them to do in order to keep themselves safe. All right, so we're still on this treatment plan. The treatment plan, presenting problems, you're actually writing down what they're telling you. This says client expressed feelings of loss, grief, depression, difficulty proceeding with her life as a result of the spouse's sudden death. So this is telling you what they're dealing with. You write that down. And this is very succinct. It doesn't have to say Sue came in and saw me on Tuesday, and by Wednesday I figured out what was happening to her, and she went and talked to her mom and talked to her daughter and talked to her brother, and the brother fell out the car window. All of that is narrative that we don't need for a treatment plan. Treatment plan is very succinct. It's to the point. It gets to the root of the problem. It writes that root of the problem down as described by the client. You may even be using their words as you write down the root of the problem. The treatment goals, SMART goals, so they have to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And so in these treatment goals, we just put here that we recognize, accept, and cope with feelings of grief. Recognize, accept, and cope with grief feelings. Explore faith, hope, love, scriptures. So your first or second session may just be about that treatment goal, that we're exploring those things. And as we're exploring those things, these are the things that came out of reaching this particular goal. Another goal could be developing healthy grieving patterns and strengthening core belief about self. Number 3, develop healthy interpersonal relationships that lead to alleviation of self-defeating patterns of behavior. Connect client with external support groups or mentors. Now, every treatment plan doesn't have to have 3 SMART goals. It doesn't have to have 3 treatment goals. You can have one treatment goal here, which is to recognize and accept feelings of grief. Explore biblical principles. That can be your main goal there. But all of the sessions that you have to be geared toward that discovery. Everything goes back to this treatment plan. That means it limits bunny trails for you. Interventions, and these are the things that you plan to do that will help this client to get better. Attend and actively participate in weekly groups, focusing on communication and problem solving skills. Ask the client to make a list of what she is depressed or frustrated with and process the list together. Make a weekly commitment to implement instant change to behaviors that are identified as stress-inducing behavior. And these are interventions as the client has presented problems with you. You come up with some practical interventions that you can help the client to deal with. For example, making weekly commitments to implement instant change in behavior. If the behavior is, I'm grief stricken, I'm staying in the bed every day, I don't want to open the blinds, it's hard for me to eat, I feel sick to my stomach and nauseous at the smell of food. One simple implementation would be, okay, how about we put a glass of water by your bed, and when you wake up in the morning, how about the first thing you do in the morning is you drink a glass of water and put a prayer journal by your bed and jot down a prayer before you even get out the bed. You've got a glass of water by you and a way to write down prayers. When you get out the bed, how about we just open the blinds and stand and just look at the sun, breathe in the air. Any of those things, small steps to get people to moving forward. We're not in the pushing business, so I can't push them to, oh, you're going to go to work today. Oh, you're going to have a great day. Oh, you're going to believe, and with faith in God, you're going to do it. I have to meet them where they are and gently nudge. How does this sound? And what about making some declarations for, oh, that's a great idea. Let's make a couple of today in session and let's see how you do tomorrow. Small steps, right? Because small steps create sustainable change. When I make these large leaps, I have no structures in place that keeps me at that particular boundary, that keeps me at that particular destination that I've reached. And so I have to have those structures in place that maintain sustainable growth. So that's one of the reasons why we do treatment plans. All right, and there's a last one on here. The DSM, that's not anything that you will worry about. That's for a clinical counselor, so don't worry about the multi-actual diagnostic. You're not making any diagnoses of people's symptoms or anything like that, so don't worry about that. And so this treatment plan, once you've met with your mock person and you've come up with your mock situation, you create this treatment plan with your person. That's going to be your first session. To write out the things that you've talked about, this page is probably going to take maybe a couple of pages of your first part. The first part of your project would be that case conceptualization. This encompasses your case conceptualization. What I just told you in this treatment plan gives me the client's demographics, who they are, where they come from. The only thing that this does not tell me in demographics is, are they local? Did they just transition to the Eugene area? How many children do they have in their family? If there's a kid, are they adopted? Are they biological parents involved? I mean, all of those demographics that come along with making a person, all these experiences. Are they in school? Do they work a full-time job? Do they work a part-time job? Are they in a local church? What do their support systems look like? All of that make up what we call a biological, psychological, social assessment, which means I'm looking at their biologic, physical stuff going on. Do they have any history of illness? And somebody may come to you and says, oh yeah, I've had heart disease for a long time. Oh yeah, I have fibromyalgia. I have things going on in my joints. Oh, I have chronic pain. All of those are red flags for you as you're praying for them. All of those are variables that increase pain or increase depression or cause them to second guess how well they do in society. All of those are red flags for us. So biopsychosocial assessment. Biology, their makeup, their history. Psychology, do they have any histories of mental health disorders? Oh yeah, I've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Oh, I've been diagnosed with depression. Okay, so you may have some serious symptoms that you're dealing with. So let's pray specifically about those symptoms. What's going on now? What's happening now? What does the Bible say about those things that's happening now? It's just getting a little bit more specific. And this is a little bit more specific than what's laid out in Benner's book. And so let's see, biological, psychological, social. Who are your support networks? Who are your friends? Are you in good relationships with parents and biological parents or step parents or sister, brother, father, mother? Who is the support systems? Is there an external church that you're involved with? Are there groups in the community that you attend in order to keep yourself motivated and encouraged? All of that creates what's called a biopsychosocial assessment. Big words for things that we're asking people about anyway. So that creates that assessment, informed consent and treatment plan. Informed consent, I believe, is something that you did earlier in this session, which is just talking about the things that you offer as a counselor, who you are, what type of sessions that you do. And I believe somewhere in our I'm just trying to find which week it was on, somewhere in our studies we did some type of informed consent and treatment plan. Everything that we just talked about is going to come out of this treatment plan. Everything that you birth is going to come out of this treatment plan. Those pieces is going to make up your part 1 of this Unit 14 assignment. Part 1. So let me review. Part 1 is going to include a 3 to 5 page case conceptualization. This is due April the 21st at midnight. The case conceptualization includes the treatment plan. The treatment plan will flesh out a lot of your biopsychosocial assessments, right? The biopsychal assessment will include the biological, who is the ornate family, the psychological, are there any histories of mental health disorders, the biopsychosocial, the social aspect of who are their support systems. All of that is going to come into play. You're going to write about those pieces. As you write about those pieces, that's really going to make up your 3 to 5 page paper. Informed consent is going to be the piece that you add, that you've talked to them about, how you view therapy. I do pastoral counseling. My degree is from such and such and so and so. That's going to be added into the 3 to 5 pages. A lot of your pages may already be done because this information may have already been done in the previous post or previous assignments. That's going to be part 1 of your Unit 14 assignment, part 1 of your final. Now, this final need to be typewritten, Times Roman 12 pitch, double spaced, APA formatting. There shouldn't be any sources that you're going to be using on this particular part 1 and part 2 because you're just using the client's information that they're giving you. So it's not going to be any cited sources. If you do use somebody else's quote for whatever reason, cite your sources. All right, so this is part 1 of your final, and I will come back with a part 2. Blessings.